Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, guys. So today I'm going to be showing you how I'm making one of my Christmas presents for this year for my family. It's going to be a nut tray out of walnut. So this is one of my finished products that I've already done. I'm going to be doing this one here for you guys on film so you guys can see how I do it. And yeah, stay tuned and I'll show you how I'm doing it. Alright guys, so I'll be using this milling machine here today. I got a 7/8 core bit meant for a router in here. It's pretty much going to be work the exact same as what a router would, it's just other way around. So I'll be using this today to make all my deep cuts. I'll be taking multiple passes to make sure I get the right depth inside, and I'll be clamping it down with these clamps here. Show you guys how I do that here in a second, and then I'm gonna bring you guys along for the ride, show you guys how I've been making these and the whole process throughout the whole thing, so stay tuned. Alright guys, got you over here so you can see the table a little bit better. So I'm gonna grab the piece of walnut here, I'm gonna throw it on the table, I'm gonna clamp it in. So the first thing that we wanted to do was make sure that it's right level with the back of the table. We know the table's flat, so if we line it up, just eyeballs good enough for this. And then we're using these fairly thick popsicle sticks to clamp this down. So we're going to put those on there, bring the clamp in, tighten that down by hand first so we get both of them on. Do the second one. Tighten this down. So you want to get everything finger tight first, just to make sure that it's not going to move on you. You can still do fine adjustments if you have to. And then once everything's done, you want to tighten them all up and make sure that it's not going to move whatsoever. Now that we got these tightened down, finger tight only, what we're going to do is we're going to use the wrench and we're going to tighten these down the rest of the way. A little bit at a time for each one, just to make sure that you're not putting too much pressure onto one spot at a time. It's not going to move. Check your clamps. They're not going to move at all. So then we're going to set up our guides on the front here so we can't go past where we're supposed to when we move it back and forth. So I'll set that up now and show you guys how to do it. Alright guys, so we have these right here. We're going to loosen them off. This one. Yep. So these are our guide stops that we're going to use. And what we're going to be doing is going 5/8 in from the edge here. So we're going to grab our ruler. We're going to bring the machine to us. Oh. So what we're going to do is bring the bit down, check it from the tooth on the router bit here. We're going to come in, so we are 5/8, which we are exactly 5/8. So what we're going to do is we're going to push this over, tighten this nut down by hand, and we're going to move it out, tighten it up, move it back in, and double check. Perfect. So now we're just going to do the same thing on the other side to make sure that we have our left and right and we can't go past with our cuts. So our cuts are always going to be the exact same length no matter what. Still too far. A little more. Perfect. So again, I'll push this over, tighten this in, move it out, cinch it down so I can't move, and double check our measurement. Perfect, 5/8 again. So now that we got these measured out, we are going to find our center for this so we know exactly how far in we're going to be. So I will move you guys over so you guys can get a better view at that. Alright guys, so I'm going to get this set up here. Bring this down. Check how far out I am. I am way too far. Bring that in. Oh, that's as far in as I can go, so that's actually fairly close. So what I'll do, since the table is in as far as it can go, what I'll end up doing is taking 1/8 of an inch off the table saw after I'm done, because I can't go any further back on the back of the table as well. Alright guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my first cut across here from the actual nut holder, and what I'm going to be doing is taking 3 cuts to get it down to the right depth, and then I'm going to move it up, move it over 5/10 and bring it back down, and I'll do 2 cuts. So I'll do one where it's almost the length of the bit, and then I'll just go down until it hits the bottom for the next one, and we're only going down 3/4 of an inch, so let's end up about there in the wood. So I'll get it all set up, get you guys set up so you guys can watch. Alright guys, quick little side note, I have a vacuum here as well, little shop vac. I'll be running that to collect the wood chips as I'm going. Just makes it easier as you're cutting so you can see what's going on with your bit and how good your cuts are going along. So it's gonna be real noisy now. Headphone or wearers, be warned, it's gonna be fairly noisy here for a second. So I'll make this first cut and have fun watching. All right, so I ended up taking 4 cuts into this. Just made it a little easier, so I knew I wouldn't have a lip on it. So bring it over, I'll show you what it looks like so far. Alright guys, so what we're going to be doing here, we haven't marked on here how far over we need to do it for each one. So we're going to go to our mark. And then we're just going to lock our table back down here. And then that will make it so our table can't move on the y-axis. This is also the x-axis, and then your z-axis is your up and down. So what we're going to do now is we just moved it forward just a little bit. And then we're going to go down and we're going to do 2 to 3 cuts in this way now, just to widen this just a little bit so the nutcracker can fit in here perfectly. All right, watch your ears guys for the headphone users. All right, got one of the nutcrackers here, guys. Fits in perfectly. Nice and solid in there. It's not gonna fall out, so all good. On to the next part. All right, so I'm gonna move you guys up to here for this next cut. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our new 0 here. What we want to do is move it over so it's 5/8, so the bit starts 5/8 past here, which we've already figured out, which would be 14 rotations with us. So we're going to count out 14 rotations, and then we're going to start doing our cuts again. We're going to start off with 1 deep cut like we did before, and then we're going to do one that's about 3/4 of the way down till we're happy on the other side, and then we're going to bring it back. And we're going to do our final depth, and we're only going to be moving it 1/8 of an inch each time, bringing it back. So it's a fairly smooth bottom. And then once we're done with that, we're going to take a scrape, and we're going to scrape the bottom till it's flat. So I'm going to actually put you guys on time lapse because this process actually takes quite a bit longer. So enjoy the time lapse. All right, so I got the proper depth here, now. So what I'm going to be doing is working my way back 1/8 of an inch each time. So, and then just to take down the center bit a little bit more. So we're just going to 1/8 of an inch each cut, back and forth until we're all the way back to the beginning over here. And then we'll, for all the waves that are left, we'll just scrape it out. So like I said before, I just worked my way all the way back, about 3/4 of the way down, and then drilled this final hole out, and yeah, no lip on it, nothing, so it's perfect. Just turning out good so far. All right guys, so now you can see now we got a nice, more smooth bottom than what it was before. So now we just got these little itty bitty grooves in it, and they're about 1/8 of an inch apart. So all I got to do now is take what we call a scrape. It has a little burr on the bottom here of it. Don't know if focus. Just see the burr there. And you take it, you place it flat, and you pull it across, and it'll take off a little bit at a time, and that will end up making that nice and flat. But before I end up scraping it, what I gotta do is, you can see all these little grooves here. So I'm gonna take this bit and I'm gonna run it along this edge again, all the way to the back until I just touch the back here. And I'm going to do the same on this side just to get rid of all the little bumps here. And then I'm going to do one more pass along the back here. And then that'll make sure everything's nice and smooth. And then I'll take it, or this part will be finished on the mill here. I'll take it over to the bench and I'll set it down right here and butt it up against this, and then I'll scrape that inside out. And then we'll have a nice smooth bottom. And then after that, it'll just be on to the finish. And there we go, guys. So we got the edges are completed here. So now these are smooth, and same for over here. And the back one is smooth. There's no lip there anymore. Same for over here, there's no lip. So we're gonna go on to scraping next. And after we're done the scraping, it's just on to the finish. And it's as simple as that, guys. All right, so one last thing I'm going to be doing with this here is I'm just going to be taking some fine good sandpaper. We're going over the edges here just to smooth them out a little bit. Make it nice on the hand so it's not so sharp. Just real quick, doesn't need a lot. Now that just rounded out the edges a little bit, just so it's not as sharp on your hands if you grab it or whatnot. So it's nice now, and we'll go on to finishing it next. All right, so today I've been primarily using two different cutting tools. I've been using this 1/7/8 inch diameter core box bit, cutter really, and it has two carbide cutting edges on it. And it's just real sharp, makes cutting through the wood nice and easy. And I've also been using this scraper, and how it works is you got a burr on the edge, only on one side, and you angle it so that burr is on the inside, and you pull it towards yourself, and that will cut just little shavings off at a time, just so you can get down that final little bit and make it nice and smooth on the bottom. And I've also been using this milling machine. instead of a router. We don't have a router that we can use for it, so I've been using this milling machine as a router, and yeah, it's been working absolutely wonderful. All right guys, so we're gonna be using Danish oil like I said, and what we're gonna do here is pour a little bit on, or a lot. And what we're gonna be doing here, using a cotton rag, we're just gonna be moving this around, getting this all on, nice even coat. I know there's a lot on here. We're gonna get every single surface here, guys. You wanna make sure everything's covered. We're gonna be doing all the corners. All the edges. And what you want to do is you want to make sure this wood stays wet at first. The instructions say on it to keep this wood wet for at least 30 minutes. And then from there, you wipe off the excess. So you just want to keep moving this cloth around. Make sure it's nice and covered. And then after that 30 minutes, you'll take a clean cotton rag. I got a couple here for when I'm doing it. And then you'll dry it off. I'm not gonna do it now just because we just started this one. But you just take it and you dry off that excess moisture from this wood here, and you let it dry over time. But you want to keep it wet for at least 30 minutes. So you just got to keep going over it. If all of a sudden you see a spot that's dry, you want to reapply it. Make sure that it's wet and just keep going over it. Check it every 2-3 minutes. Make sure every little bit's wet. And then once that 30 minutes is up, take that dry cotton cloth and go back over it again and make sure that it's all good, there's no excess, and then you let it dry for 24 hours or up to like a week. A week's preferred, 24 hours is good. So we'll check this again in 2-3 minutes and we'll re-wipe it all down again. Check, make sure it's good. All right, so this piece has been drying for a few minutes now. So we're gonna re-go over it. You can see some really dry spots on here. We're gonna re-go over those spots. Some spots are absorbed more than others. So we're gonna be going over those spots again and just making sure that those spots get the stain that they need, because this is a stain that absorbs into wood, not sits on top of wood. So you want to make sure that each area gets the amount of stain that it actually needs. This finish, sorry. So you just want to go back over it, get all the finish on it that it needs. There we go. And then we just let this sit for a while and let it dry. All right guys, so that's how I made my Christmas presents this year, or at least some of my Christmas presents this year. So if you guys liked and enjoyed what you guys were watching today and you found this at least somewhat knowledgeable or informational, please hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more of my content. I do a lot of hunting and fishing and outdoors related stuff. So till the next one guys, I'll see you on the next video. Have a good one.